Today I'm working on a custom for a friend's nursery. This stunning piece is in amazing condition. You can tell that it was really made to last. There's the normal wear and tear that you would expect to find on a century-old piece. There's areas where the veneer is peeled up or snapped off, failing finish on the top from water damage over the years, and plenty of gouges and dings. But you can tell that this has been really well cared for and is just in need of a facelift. I'm so thrilled that my friend wants to keep the original hardware. I think the patina is gorgeous and the design is so unique. I'm going to be exposing every inch of this lovely veneer and we'll be applying a whitewash to achieve a light, bright, bare wood look. The only major damage I'm going to have to contend with is on the lower right side. The front panel is damaged from being shifted around over the years, which has begun to warp the brittle veneer, which means that there is a lot of wood glue in my future. The gouges on the other side luckily haven't broken through the surface of the veneer. I'll buff out as much as I can without causing any damage. I tried to find a maker's mark, but it looks like it fell off years ago. Based on the quality and the design of this piece, I would guess that it's from the mid 1920s to 1930s. I can't wait to see this all cleaned up and to make this stunning wood grain pop. Let's dive right in. I start every project by taking out all the drawers and giving everything a good look over. Since most of the damage is on the bottom, I'm tipping this on its back to get a better look at what needs to be done. Looks like the kick plate is really loose in the front, so I'm going to add that to my repairs list as well as the veneer that's pulling up on the side panels. I've never actually seen this type of hardware from this era where all the plastic details are undamaged. Usually there's always one that's just been completely destroyed. This hardware is unique in that every element is separate, so I'm taking extra care to not drop the peach-colored plastic pieces. But in my aim to do this, I drop the metal disc almost every single time. You can count and see how many times I do it. This kick plate in the front should be really easy to fix. I'm just going to drill a small hole in the back panel through to the kick plate and reinforce everything with a few screws on both sides. Even just on this one side, you can see the difference that it makes. Next, I'm going to start work on the damaged veneer on this side panel. I'm finding all the areas where the veneer is peeling up and forcing wood glue underneath using a card, or you can use a little syringe. I'm also trying to fill in as many of the cracks and crevices as I can with wood glue to reinforce those areas and prevent further damage. Wood glue dries clear, and I find on repairs like these that it can make for a much less obvious means of repair than an opaque wood filler. I've already decided that I'm going to choose the path of least resistance on this piece. It's, I'm guessing, around a century old. It looks amazing for its age. I'm going to embrace the imperfections, perhaps even highlight them. I know that the design plan I have for this will, if anything, be enhanced by a few dings and a few cracks. While that wood glue dries, I go around the entire piece to see if there are any other places where the veneer is peeling up. Now for sanding. Here are your sanding rules, guys. Always wear a dust mask rated for the materials you're sanding. Wear eye and ear protection, and I always wear gloves because the dust makes my hands all crusty, so I get that sanding veneer can be a little scary. The veneer on this piece is thin, like really thin. So a light touch and really good technique is key. Start with no coarser than 150 grit sandpaper and keep your sander flat to the surface. Your job is to hold the sander steady and let the weight of the sander do the work. Wipe away sanding dust and change out your sandpaper often, also move in the direction of the wood grain. Once the majority of the finish is removed, I like to work the edges and details by hand. And my number one veneer sanding tip is to practice on pieces that you plan on painting anyways. That way you get a feel for the process, and if you burn through veneer as you're learning, and you absolutely will, it's not such a huge deal. At this stage, I also like to give the edges and the inside of the drawers a good sand. I then follow the same steps for all the other drawers. I took the time to hand sand down the rounded edges of the lower drawers. If you have a fancy sander with sponge sanding pads, it would make this go a lot faster, but alas, it's good old elbow grease for us today. I finished all the drawers with 220 grit sanding paper to refine the texture and to conceal any swirl marks from my sander. I used the same techniques and grits to sand away the finish on the rest of the piece. So I've recently taken to cleaning everything after I sand. Call me crazy, but I see no point in cleaning a finish that I plan on completely sanding away. Plus, I end up having to re-clean my piece after I sand. In doing this, I've shaved off almost 45 minutes of my prep time. So I'm using clean water to wipe away the areas where I sanded, and then a TSP alternative to clean the inside of the cavity and in the drawers. Now that prep's done, it's time to start whitewashing. I'm so freaking excited. Seeing this phenomenal wood grain exposed, I just know that it's gonna look amazing in a lighter tone. What is naturally a deep red, I'm selecting a paint for my wash that almost has a greenish undertone to it to balance. So I filled my cup 3/4 of the way with water, and I'm adding at the most about a tablespoon of paint. I want this to be opaque but very watery. I use old t-shirt scraps to wipe away the wash. I want this to be pushed in between the wood fibers. Then I immediately wipe it away with a dry rag. As you can see on the drawers, this can look a bit messy, a bit scary, a bit like holy Shasta, I've made a huge mistake. You haven't, I promise. This is just the process. Things look a little messy and blotchy as they dry. Just make sure to apply and wipe away evenly and you'll be golden. Here I'm applying the second coat. I ended up doing 3 coats total to end up getting the white cast that I was looking for. Since the whitewash is water-based, it can cause the wood fibers to raise, so I'm running a 220 grit sanding pad over the entire surface before adding my top coat. I really love whitewashing because it adds dimension, gives an almost pickled effect, and it's a great way to use up old paint, so it's a win-win-win in my book. I'm gonna brush the top coat onto the rim of the drawers so that I can push the drawers in and spray everything really evenly without having to wrap them up. Today I'm using bare water-based poly in a satin finish. I've had a really hard time finding my go-to poly in my area lately, but I've been really pleased with the results I've gotten from this product so far. It's cheap and it's comparable in quality. While that dries, I'm cleaning the hardware up. Since we're keeping this gorgeous patina, I'm gently cleaning the outside with just Dawn dish soap. I am, however, giving the backside a really good scrub to remove all of the built-up scum. The first layer of top coat is now dry, so I come in with a 220 grit sanding pad to make sure our final coat goes on buttery smooth. For the final touches, I use Howard Feed and wax to rehydrate the inside of the drawers as well as reattach the hardware. Let me remind you of what this piece looked like before. It was in incredible shape, but it was a little dark and dated for my friend's nursery design. I think the whitewash and new finish gave this piece a sense of elegant whimsy, and it's just gonna look absolutely amazing in a nursery. Here it is, all fixed up.